Happy Monday! Colleen here, and I'm about to make actually modified New Orleans style red beans and rice. I'm saying modified because it turns out I don't have any red beans in the house, and I'm gonna go ahead and make this using pinto beans. I was taught how to make this by my friend who is a lifelong resident of New Orleans. And she eats it every Monday. Monday is the traditional time to make it. This is some of my Tony's chicken base that I bought at Sam's Club. And I'm putting just a little bit of it into the water with my beans. That's equivalent to using a chicken stock, which I never buy. If you read the ingredients on a box of chicken stock, it's a bunch of water and a bunch of salt and a little bit of carrot juice and so on down the line. So I'm just looking for the flavor of the chicken in with these beans. And I did a quick soak. Actually a little bit less time than typically suggested, but I did a lot of research on the internet and learned that it doesn't really matter. This is a tiny little smoked ham hock from my freezer. It's still pretty frozen, and I'm gonna get that buried down in with the covered with the water. I realize you can't see what's happening in that pot. Here, also from my freezer, I have about 1 link of andouille sausage, which I let thaw partially, and then cut it into little half pieces. You can cut it smaller than that. That size doesn't bother me. Okay, so as I said, my beans had a little bit of a quick soak, and now I have them cooking with the ham hock to actually become cooked. And in a separate pan, I just added my inexpensive olive oil, and these are really the key ingredients. The holy trinity of chopped bell pepper, onion, celery. That's a little bit of oregano, some bay leaves, and some garlic. So the bay leaves can just jump in the pool. So I have to go run an errand and be somewhere at 6 o'clock, currently 5:10. So I just want to get this going, and then it can simmer on the stove while I go and run my errand. I'll only be gone a few minutes, but, and then the rice in this dish is just long grain enriched white rice. I have about a half a pound here. And the beans, I'm actually using a little bit less than a pound today. Mostly because I just don't need to have a giant pot of this stuff. if I can show you where we're at here. This is a really big stock pot, but that's probably about something along the lines of 3/4 of a pound of dried pinto beans. Well, maybe even less. This is a 1.5 pound bag of beans. I had already used it for something once, so that's the second thing I'm making with it, and that is about a pound of beans still in there. So, not making a huge quantity. I don't actually know the reasoning behind sweating the vegetables before you add them, but that is how I was taught, and so that is how I continue to do it. Adding salt and pepper. I did a lot of research on the internet about the cooking of beans, because I do cook beans, dry beans fairly often. And I don't want to say what website I found it all on and give you the wrong answer here, but they basically said that most of what you have learned about cooking dry beans is untrue. You don't actually have to pre-soak them, although that does speed up the cooking. You don't actually have to avoid putting in salt before they're tender. Adding the salt, which I just put in these vegetables, adding the salt earlier gives the beans opportunity for more flavor. So I can see that my garlic is becoming brown. I don't want to burn that. And so it is that this will go in. Now, I think red beans and rice is pretty popular at Popeyes. And they definitely use liquid smoke. These beans shouldn't need that because my ham hock is smoked. But if you don't have some smoked meat, the andouille is also smoked. This happens to be the Zatarain's brand. Depending where you live, andouille sausage can be hard to find. Okay, so everything's in there except for the sausage. I'll go ahead and add that. And now it just has to simmer. This should be pretty soupy at the end. And the flame is on about medium right now, but once it starts to like bubble a little bit or whatever, I will turn that down to a simmer, and I'm going to let that cook for, I don't know, an hour and a half or so, just until the beans are nice and tender. And then the rice, of course, is going to take, about a half an hour all total. So there's no reason to start that now. I would rather have that freshly made rice. Anyway, so here we have red beans and rice with a substitution of pinto beans, just because that is what I have in the house. And that's it. When I get back from running my errand, I will make the rice and finish this up, and that will be more than an hour from now, so we'll be close to done, and then it's just a matter of checking the consistency of the beans. So maybe I'll do a part 2 when I get back later, but that's pretty much the extent of it. You throw all that stuff in a pot and let it rip. Yeah, that's starting to bubble. So I'm going to turn this down to a simmer. And you want to stir it every once in a while and make sure that you add water as needed, so that you have kind of a sauce along with it when it's done. You can also add chicken, which I may do near the end. I don't think it needs it, but if you wanted to make it meatier, or if you had a huge quantity of beans and not so much of your other meats, you can add chicken as well. Anyway, so that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.